All right, let's try this again, guys. So sorry for that. I was 8 minutes into that last stream before I realized I had no audio coming through. So you weren't crazy. That one was on me. After all these years of being on YouTube and live streaming, still making very amateur mistakes like that. I do apologize for the confusion. Hopefully, we can get a few of you guys to come back and come hang with us. Let me know in the chat, of course. I think my audio is working this time, but I would like to get a confirmation from those of you that can come back and show up. That'd be really, really cool. So, as I was trying to say in the last video, which you heard none of it, pretty interesting, juicy story recently popped up on the internet, sort of went semi-viral, which was this band called Heaven 17 turning down an offer to have one of their tracks actually secured and licensed in the upcoming Grand Theft Auto 6 video game. So it ended up being a three-person band, and the offer was $22,500 for one song. So if you split that up three ways, each member would have gotten $7,500. So this title here is a little bit misleading. It should say a $22,500 total sync fee offer for it, but you know that's what the internet's going to do. That's what people are going to do to make a more compelling kind of an article here. So let's go ahead and get into this. I'll give you guys the breakdown of the story, what happened if you are not aware of it. And I think more importantly, why I probably definitely would have taken a different approach for this, would have accepted it, and what my plan would have been. And maybe just open up conversation for all of you guys to think about this. Because one of the things that we are potentially looking forward to with our sync licensing careers is opportunities like this, where major motion pictures, video games, TV shows might come to us at some point in our careers and say, we want to feature your music in this. What do you say? And if you haven't thought about what you would say, if you haven't thought about what kind of terms would be acceptable to you or not, or what your strategy would be immediately after getting a placement like that, hopefully this could be a sort of video that can get you thinking that way. And feel free to disagree if you want to. My sort of top layer of all this before we get into this is I am libertarian on everybody making their own decision on what's right for them in their career. I have accepted deals in my sync licensing career where I take upfront fees and there's no royalties associated with it. Some of you would never accept that at any point in your career, and that's totally cool. I respect that. But some deals I find and I feel that, well, I'd rather take the upfront guarantee money now as opposed to gambling and maybe hoping and wishing that there's going to be some royalties down the line. Other opportunities I've been a part of, I don't care at all about the upfront fee. I say, save it. Just give me my royalties, because I think and I believe and know that a lot of placements coming in my way is definitely going to play out longer and better for me in the long run for passive income. So looks like we got 11 of you guys hanging out and showing up, but I do not see any chats here. So I don't know if that's on my end or you guys are being a little bit quiet, but hopefully you guys are seeing this and hearing this. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I did link the article below. You guys can go check it out if you want to. But let's go get into some interesting, juicy details about this. And we also learn about what Rockstar Games, one of the biggest manufacturers and producers of video games, offers for music licensing. If you were curious what you can kind of earn getting into the video game world, you'll learn that in today's video. So cool. You can hear it, Sean. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Yes, Brian, you were one of the first people I thought about with this, because I know you're kind of getting the video game stuff yourself, and I knew you would probably accept it as well. So yeah, it's, everybody's got a different point of view on this, but I think I'll give you guys, had I been a manager or a counselor for this singer, for this band, why I hopefully could have convinced them to take this deal. I think they should have. But we'll talk about it. Okay, so Rockstar Game, they came to this company. Martin Ware is the lead singer of the band Heaven 17. Said, hey, we want to take your song Temptation, which was, I guess, from back in 1983, for a soundtrack for Grand Theft Auto 6, which is probably the most anticipated video game of the decade, I would say. I'm not a gamer, but even if you don't play video games, you know what Grand Theft Auto is, right? We all know it's huge, it's massive, it's a household name, right? So, Yellow, what's up, man? And good to see you. Hey, Carlos is here. Dawn Music, good to see you guys. So he was offered personally $7,500, which would obviously be split, or the total $22,500 was split three ways, which would result in each member getting $7,500. That's where the title of this article is a little misleading, not exactly accurate. But this is the news. This is what we do, right? So anyways, Grand Theft Auto, Rockstar Games wants their song. Kind of a cool opportunity. And this is what the singer put on X on his post, okay? So he was recently contacted by the publishers on behalf of Rockstar Games of using his song Temptation on Grand Theft Auto 6, okay? Naturally excited about the immense wealth kind of an important word he used there, that was about to head my way. Of course, if you imagine yourself, you wake up, you get this email, hey, Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out big, huge. They want to use one of your songs. You would imagine, boy, I can't imagine what's going to be coming my way as a result of that. That's going to be great. So he was looking for, the immense wealth that was coming his way. He scrolled down and saw that it was going to be, for him personally, $7,500, right? So, of course, that was disappointing. His expectations were way up here. We'll talk about exactly. He does give a number for what he would have accepted, but it didn't meet his expectations, so he was not interested, not excited about that. And it was definitely for a buyout of any future royalties from the game forever. Now, that sounds like one of these, unethical situations. I don't think that's what's happening here. If you're new to sync licensing and you don't know, there are no royalties with video games. There haven't ever been. There aren't now. I'm hoping in the future there will be. We have some blockchain technologies that are coming online. I actually know somebody personally who's working on that, and I have my fingers crossed that they will be able to crack that nut and actually break into the video game world, because we can technically do it, but we just don't yet. So you have to have a will there to kind of force our way into that world to say, we are going to now expect some royalties coming from video game placements. But right now, if you're not aware of, that's how the game is played. You get an upfront one-time fee, and that's it. They say, bye-bye, it's a future buyout. There's no more royalties, okay? That's why video games haven't been a big focus of my career, but as video games have become more and more popular and bigger, and the sync fees have become healthier and healthier, it might be something some of you want to have some focus on in your career. It can actually do really, really well, okay? But then he puts this kind of unfair comparison, and I'll talk about why I think it's unfair. He says, to put this in context, Grand Theft Auto 5, the last franchise, the last edition of it, grossed $8.6 billion. So, of course, you compare $8.6 billion gross to $22,500, and it looks like, oh my gosh, what a slap in the face. But a couple of things are unfair about that. One of it, it's gross. What did they net? Gross is just how many times it's sold, all the microtransactions, all the total income from the game. That's not including what it costs to produce it. If you look at just the the sales, it looks like, oh my gosh, they ran off to the bank with $8.6 billion, but they didn't, right? I'm sure it was billions that they did net profit, okay? I'm not going to say that they are poor or that they're scraping by, but that's not really fair, okay? You should look at the net, of course. That's exactly the money that they took away, because it's, all the developers, all the technology, all the marketing and development and advertising and blah, 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 and customer service, all the expenses for running and building and developing a video game. Not cheap at all, okay? So, but then of course the counter to this is to it's not it's not gonna get you wealthy, this $7,500, but the exposure, right? Which is what a lot of the counterpoint would be, which is where I would also argue, not every gig is great for exposure. And I do believe that does get used, this excuse, well, you're gonna get exposure. It does get you overly used to take advantage of sync producers and composers. Absolutely. We've seen it, it's so there. Grand Theft Auto 6, yeah, I would buy it, okay? Grand Theft Auto, that is a household name that your music will be in front row seat to not only just a major video game, but now you're probably going to be included in the zeitgeist of humanity as a result of getting that placement, okay? But he was not convinced of that, so he said, go F yourself in his post, okay? Now remember, he said here, he was wanting to do this, where was it at? Right here. He was looking for the immense wealth that was about to hit his way. So for him, $7,500 is obviously not wealth. So what's his definition of wealth? Well, he talks about what would have been acceptable to him. So he told a fan on Twitter that $75,000 for a buyout or no advance with a reasonable royalty would have been acceptable to him. So not $22,500, but $75,000. So basically, a little over 3x what they offered. Or don't give us any upfront money, but give us some reasonable royalties moving forward, which again, not possible, I wouldn't say not possible, but just not a common practice right now. And it's not something that you can really expect from video game companies. So he's looking for wealth, and he thought $75,000 was wealth. Now, I'm not saying $75,000 isn't a lot of money and isn't an amazing, great sync fee to get for one track getting placed, right? Especially you've already done the work. It's just a matter of you signing a piece of paper, and $75,000 plus all the exposure is coming your way with that, okay? But just imagine you get a track, you're a band and you get placed in Rockstar Games, or, I put myself in that situation, even if I wasn't an artist or a band, which I'm not, but it was like an original song that I put out and Rockstar Games is going to feature it. And I knew I was about to be in front of hundreds of thousands of people's ears, eyes, maybe millions of people, maybe part of memes online, maybe part of people's reaction videos, video game videos, social media content all over the place. if my song is going to be included in some part of that or a number of that, you know the chances of people discovering your band, discovering your music, getting excited about you are through the roof. Okay. So $75,000 is a lot of money for sure. But had this band said yes, which I don't know if there's still a chance they maybe could, maybe they'll watch this video and rethink it. That'd be kind of interesting. Probably not. But had they said yes to this and, take their measly $7,500 each, like, okay, whatever, thank you. And their song gets a part of some viral meme moment, or it just gets in front of, 100,000 people. Of those, I don't know how many people, actually, I would imagine it's got to be in the millions, right, of people that are going to play that game at some point. But I say of all of that, it's 50,000 people of all the people that do it, and they like the song, and they're really into it, and they want to go buy it, download it, listen to it, get into the band, find out a little bit more. And this band decides to get in front of all that popularity and start putting out their own content, talking and associating themselves with Grand Theft Auto 6, putting out new content, putting out new games, not games, new music, new videos, whatever. Just basically jumping in front of this train as it's about to take off because they know they're going to be a relevant part of the story. $75,000, you can earn that in a couple of shows, maybe even just one show if you're touring as a band, plus the merch, plus all the other upsells you can do for your fans. You put on a very successful tour and you go with a couple other bands, $75,000 is a couple of dates for you as a really, really popular, well-established band. So you could have an entirely new career born as a result of this one placement that will dwarf $75,000 and it'll be laughable. And that's what they turned down. They said, no, you need to give us this amount of or this amount of money or we're not going to play. So that would be I would say they almost were they thought of themselves, they didn't see the bigger picture. They were looking at the sort of big upfront fee right now, but they weren't looking at towards that sometimes exposure is extremely valuable, especially in this day and age where social media is basically making everything impossible to see because it's so crowded and it's so, overwhelming. And this basically just jumps you and boosts you immediately above all the noise. You're in Grand Theft Auto 6. There's only a handful of artists and bands and music that's in that video game. And people are not only just listening to your music, but they're doing something active while they're listening to it. And your music is enhancing their experience. The other part I want to sort of, kind of push back a little bit here is to say, Grand Theft Auto 5 grossed $8.6 billion, but they're paying, artists, this measly, $7,500 per member or $22,500 for the band. Again, that's gross. That's not net. But even aside of that, how much of Grand Theft Auto is successful because of the music that they license and put in the video game? I'm not going to say zero because the music does make a difference. You get into a car, you have this background music, you got the cool music playing. It makes a difference. It makes the game more authentic, more enjoyable, more believable, more realistic, all these kind of cool things, right? It makes a difference for sure. But do you think if they didn't license any popular music, any well-established songs that you knew, and instead went, you know what, we're just going to have to go hire a bunch of bands, artists, maybe sync licensing producers to make us a whole new catalog of track of music that we're going to put into our game? Do you think people would not buy Grand Theft Auto 6 if the music was not licensed from popular artists? Or the other way to think about it is how much do you think the sales would suffer had they not gotten, let's say, this song, which was what's the name of it? Temptation. If Temptation, they're saying no. If they can't get Temptation, do you think that 30,000 people won't buy the game because they didn't get that song? Or, it just, to me, it's like they grossed $8.6 billion because they made a hell of a good video game, right? It's just a really damn good video game. It's, I've played it a couple times in my life, but boy, the few times I played it, it was really addictive, very fun. So it's the game, right? It's the graphics, it's the gameplay, it's all the other elements, right? You've got voice actors in there, you've got physical elements happening, you've got all the physical details, the technical details working out there. So the music is important; it's a part of it. But is the music to be thanked for the 8.6? Like how much of this is thanks to the music? I don't know, but I think that they've earned their right to earn the money with or without the music that they've included there. I just wanted to give them a little bit of that credit. So if you were curious to, how much they do pay. Rockstar licenses its games. I don't know if this is verified, but this is in this article, so I don't know. But they're saying it feels about right to me. I'll be honest, from what I've heard in our industry as well, between $5,000 and $30,000 per track, depending on the track's popularity. So, and they do have a sunset clause. It's not forever. It's 7 to 10 years. No royalty fee attached. That's not them being unethical. That's just the standard deal for video games. We don't have a infrastructure in place right now to secure licensing royalties and performance royalties for us. Unfortunately, hopefully in the future that'll work out. But they're also letting them know that they've also had these are some of the other artists that they've also licensed. Kate Bush, Ozzy Osbourne, a couple from Michael Jackson, and all of them have had music removed from the older versions of Grand Theft Auto. So when the 7 to 10 years comes up, they basically have re-releases of the video games, and they take out the music that has no longer been licensed. So they do honor their agreements that way. So a lot to unpack here, a lot of interesting facts, and I also wanted to find out from you guys, what would you do? I'd love to hear from your chat right now as I kind of catch up on the chats that I've been missing. Would you take this deal? Would you not take this deal? Have you thought about these kind of deals? Because when they do come, and they're can be a once in a career opportunity, like for this band, this is probably a once in a career opportunity to get high and mighty about it, and to think and to have a short term, and to think too small. And in the short term, you could be passing up a lot more than $75,000 in the long run by basically reigniting a career. And it sounds like it's kind of like a legacy band that obviously may have been popular in previous decades. But right now, nostalgia is all the rage. Like all the bands that I grew up on, in the 90s and the early 2000s are all getting back together and touring right now, because all of us who are fans of them are a little bit older now, and we can maybe pay to go to their concerts now. So nostalgia and older bands are definitely becoming more popular. So I see a play to really boost your popularity again and reignite yourself and capitalize on it with a new tour or a new album, or anything else you can do with all this attention you can get. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on it. I'm curious what you guys think. All right, Yellow, what's up, man? I take that money knowing that the new PS5 will cost 800 euros. Wow, really? They're issuing a new one? Yeah, so Fast Track, you're saying that the entire deal was $44,000? I'm not sure how you're getting that number, because this one's saying 7,500 per person, because the total bring the sync deal to around 22,500 for inclusion. Yeah, that's what this article is saying. I don't know. I haven't seen the actual offer, so I have no idea. But anyways, either way, 44, 22,000, something like that. I'm guessing 44 wouldn't have been good enough anyways, because they're saying 75 is his minimum, is what he would have wanted if it was a one-time payout and no royalties after. So yeah. Brian said this is also historically why musicians and artists end up, they can make my video screen a little bit bigger so I can get a little more intimate with y'all. Hold on a second. Where are my filters here? There we go. That's not it. There we go. That one. A little bigger. There we go. Hello, everybody. I'm here. Brian had an interesting comment here. This is also historically why musicians and artists often end up bankrupt and broke. They make decisions based off their feelings instead of what could financially catapult them. Yeah, I think, and all human beings do this, right? It's not just musicians, but definitely musicians can sometimes get very, like, the ego gets involved, right? Because it feels like, ooh, you're slapping me in the face, and this is this massive, because it does feel, I get it, like Grand Theft Auto, right? Billions of dollars of profits, for sure. You take the gross, subtract the net, you're probably still with billions of dollars of profits. And it's like, you can't fork out like 6 figures for this track. I get it. I totally understand that. But at the same time, that's not what's on the table. That's not what's being offered. And you also have to realize, are you replaceable? And I'm sorry to Martin Ware, Heaven 17, you are absolutely replaceable. They don't need your track, man. They just don't need it. It would be cool. They think it'd be a cool idea. That's why they approached you. But if you say no, do you think that the game's not coming out, or that people are going to be so heartbroken and disappointed that they won't do it? And it's not about you. Like, they could go to The Weeknd. They could go to Foo Fighters. They could go to any huge major artist. And the artist says, nah, we don't want to do that. Do you think that the fans of Grand Theft Auto 6 who want to play it are not going to get the game because The Weeknd or Foo Fighters or whatever didn't say yes to it? I just don't think that's going to make any difference at all. I think it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's an opportunity. They're offering this to you, and this is what the benefits could potentially be. That being said, again, I respect everybody for what their decision is going to be. I just have a different point of view on this. I would have approached this a lot differently. Sagara saying most of GTI's revenue comes from microtransactions at this point. Yeah, they definitely have that kind of setup to keep monetizing the game. How is the specific track used, Christian? Good question. I don't know. I know that most of the music that you find, I think, in Grand Theft Auto, I'm not a player of it, of course, but it comes from the radio station, I believe, right? When you get into a car, you can change the radio station. They have different styles and genres and that kind of thing, that I think it's like this virtual radio station that starts playing music while you're in the car, I believe. But I'm sure there's going to be certain parts of the game, maybe it's in like some of the cutaway scenes or maybe the menus where, you know, they're going to play some music as you're like selecting what you want to do in the game. So that's certainly another use for it. But I'm not sure. That wasn't clear in this article. Aaron's saying it's hard to say being in a situation I'm in right now versus the situation they're in. But right now, there's no way I would pass on that. Yeah, and again, that's the kind of like libertarian guiding principle that I have, which is like, you know, maybe this singer in this band has other things that they're doing right now, and they have a different sort of, you know, maybe they are very thriving, you know, touring, and they're doing great, whatever. So maybe they're not really interested in reigniting their career. Their career is just doing fine. I don't know. Who knows? So yeah, everybody's in a different situation with different goals and different considerations. So, but yeah, I'm glad that you guys are thinking about it now. So, Common says I would take that deal. Cool, I would as well. Cigar says I'd take the deal. When the GTA 6 trailer used "Love Is a Long Road" by Tom Petty, it reignited interest in his music from an audience that may not have looked at it otherwise. Absolutely, Cigar. That's a great point. And if this is a band from the 1980s. Kids that are playing this game, I don't think they've heard of them or known them or been very highly aware of them. So absolutely, it could ignite this new interest in these kind of legacy bands that have been gone for a while and haven't been relevant for a while. So, and I've been seeing that a lot with like younger people, that they're wearing shirts of like bands from the 90s, bands from the 80s, and that kind of a thing. So it's a really kind of popular thing right now to look back in time to find cool, relevant artists and bands to connect with, and this would absolutely be a way to do that. And Tom Petty seems to be like getting some of that love as well. So, wow! And Yellow's saying right here, I bought that album because of that trailer. While I've never been introduced to that artist, there you go. There's proof right there in the chat here that this does make a difference, and it definitely does ignite new interest in music. So, it is there. So, hey, what's up, David? Good to see you, man. Using popular music based on the radio station genre. Okay, that's how they're doing it in the game. Fast Track says, my wife said she'd kick me out if I rejected that deal. Smart wife, hang on to her. Christian, yeah, I was thinking the value depends on the use, either as foreground or background as source. And I just took your free course today. Oh, right on, Christian. Glad you took it. Hope you find that useful and helpful. I got some really cool videos coming up here on the channel for a lot of you guys that might be a little bit newer to sync licensing. So if you guys are new, welcome. We got some really cool stuff for you guys to check out. I definitely, you know, this video is obviously about these kind of high water marks in our careers, which are rare. Like I said, this could be a once in a career situation that you I hope all of you guys will find some situation like this. But a vast majority of what we do in sync licensing is not this exciting. It's not this big. It's definitely not going to be a viral news story. You know, we are certainly the unsung heroes behind the scenes, mostly anonymous, doing a lot of the trudgery of this industry without a lot of public recognition. And it's all about consistently grinding, you know, creating high quality new music and making sure that you are partnering with the most high quality companies that you possibly can. That's actually what we're going to be focusing on in the next couple of videos here in the channel. So welcome, and definitely stay tuned. We got some really cool stuff for you guys to dive into and get very, very prepared for success in this business. So Brian's saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the publisher usually have the ability to make those decisions autonomously, especially if there are two other songwriters? You know, if the publisher, you know, I don't know about that because it depends on the deal, Brian. So like for you and I, this isn't a sync licensing like band, right? This is not a band that has a deal like that you and I might have with a production music library. If Rockstar Games came to any production music library that I've signed with, absolutely, they'll just be able to get the deal without my consent. That's the whole advantage of production music libraries for clients, is it doesn't slow down with any of this permission getting with contracts. We've already given the production music library full permission to exploit the music any way they can. They can say yes to any deal that they want to. It's up to them to do that, right? And so that's what can result for a lot more deals for us. So this is a band though, so they had an independent, they had some deal with a publisher. So I don't know. I would imagine the publisher would need to come back to the artist to say, hey, as the publisher, our job is to go get you deals, but kind of like a sync agent is still going to come back to you as the songwriter and say, this is the deal. This is what they're offering. What do you think? Do you want to counter? Do you want to say yes? Here's what I think. I think we can counter and get more, but I'm really working for you. It's your intellectual property. What do you want to do? So I would imagine their deal does not allow the publisher to just willy-nilly take deals, even though I'm sure that publisher is banging their head on the desk right now and saying, what the hell are you thinking? But that's still, again, that's the artist's decision. And I do respect their decision to do that, even if I disagree with it. So hope I'm not too late. What are you worried about being late for, Jack? So hey, what's up, Trevor? He's saying master, owner, and publisher have a say. Writers have no say. So I don't know. So Trevor, are you talking about when, it's kind of hard to do with a chat and conversation, but for bands, right? So not for sync licensing, for a band. So I guess you would say the master, whoever owns the masters. Yeah. And so I don't know the situation with this band. If they don't own their masters and they don't own their publishing, then probably not. They're probably going to be in a situation where they don't get to say yes or no. So yeah, whoever owns the master, and whoever owns the rights to the publishing, for sure, we get to do that. So I don't know exactly, how this is working with this band. So my guess would be that they probably own their masters. And that's what obviously Rockstar wants to license, is the actual master recording. They're not trying to get the lyrics and the melodies and the chord progressions. They want to actually get the song, because that's the song that the people who know that song would be recognizing. So maybe the band does own it, and the publisher is basically saying, all right, you got to give us permission to be able to do that. So, but yes, a great point though, that there are essentially two decision makers when you have your music out for sync licensing opportunities. Symphony saying, I'd say having it on your resume could pay more than the gig itself. Should definitely help in opening more doors down the line. Yeah, it could do that as well, unless the individual doesn't care too much about that. Exactly. So each of us are going to have a different consideration and a different point of view on what's important to us. But absolutely, coming up to anybody afterwards to say, I've got a track featured in GTA 6, can at least get you in the door. It's going to get people opening up your emails more. It's going to get you more, I don't know. It just opens up doors that you probably wouldn't have had open up to you had you not had that placement. So yeah, it's an asset in many different ways. And $7,500, I get it. It's not millions. It's not six figures. But I mean, my point of view is almost like, I don't want any money. I don't want any royalties. Just put me in your game. To me, like $7,500 feels like a bonus. Like, you're gonna also pay me on top of putting me inside of the most popular video game of all time. Again, that's where my head is at right now. If I were the Beatles, I would probably be thinking a little bit differently. If I were the Weeknd, I'd probably be thinking a little bit differently. So again, that's where I have to check myself and check my own bias about this kind of stuff, that I don't have the same considerations that every other artist or band, and neither you guys have your own as well. So and Brian saying, yeah, 10 minutes later, all of us making sound alikes for $3,000. Yep, that sounds like about what we do here with this industry for sure. So Trevor saying they could probably negotiate up to $10,000. Yeah, and it's risky, right? Because it depends on how badly they want that song. Like, how important is that song for the video game? If they come back and say, because what their counter was going to be was $75,000, right? So they're going from $22,500 to $75,000, which is like a 3x increase, over 3x of what was offered to them. So Rockstar might laugh them out of the room and say, you're dreaming, buddy. Plenty of other songs we can go get way cheaper than that. We don't need your song. We thought it'd be kind of a cool idea, but if you're really you're going to be that much of a stickler on this, we're not doing it. So I think that sounds more reasonable. I would agree with Trevor there, going up to just $10,000 per member, right? So if going from $22,500 to $30,000 total doesn't seem like a huge, unreasonable ask to go in the other direction. But, and you never know until you ask it, for sure. So Symphony's saying right now, I do it for free. Yep, I probably would as well. Because I always think about putting myself in that sort of same situation right now. If it was one of my original songs and it was Grand Theft Auto 6, you guys know that you wouldn't be hearing from me for like months, right? Like I would just be making my own original music. That's all I'd be doing. Getting ready for Grand Theft Auto 6 to launch, I would basically be doing everything I can to have a ton of great new content, original music, videos, social media content, everything, tying myself to Grand Theft Auto 6, literally sucking off it like a leech, getting everybody I can to be interested in the new music that I was doing, and trying to launch an entirely new career. You guys might not see me ever again on YouTube had I had this opportunity at me. And I would say, $7,500, I'll take it. Whatever. I don't even care. Thank you so much for the bonus. Like, I'm going to really try to springboard this into something bigger if I possibly can. I think it's worth that kind of effort and energy. So that's just my 2 cents on it. Some of you guys probably would agree with me on there, but not all of you. So that's totally cool. So Aaron's saying $7,500 probably means a lot more to me than $7,500 means to them, regardless of other perks. Absolutely. And you know what? $7,500 means something different to all of us. Okay. So we all are going to look at that number, or $75,000, and have a completely different reaction to how life-changing that would be for us to get that one. Now, I know for some of you that have never seen $7,500 for a sync licensing deal, that seems, oh my gosh, out of this world, unbelievable. It's not the most crazy amount of money you can see in our industry. Again, I do not want to hype you guys up on hopium and pump up and sell the dream and do any of that kind of stuff, because that stuff really does annoy me. But there are very lucrative sync licensing deals out there that are way more than $7,500 in our industry, working with TV and film clients and ad campaigns and trailers and all that kind of stuff. A lot more. In fact, we just had a Sync Connect call with Troy McCubbin of Alloy Tracks, who does some of the most prominent and notable trailers in our industry. And I'll just give you guys some of their numbers. Okay. So on the low end, they're looking at like 5 to 10 grand. That's usually what they look at on the low end if they're doing some trailer work. But some of their gigs, and he's talked to us about, are 20 to 40K, 40 to 60K, sometimes up to 80K plus per track for particular projects, sometimes including sound design, sometimes not. So particular sides and points of our industry are very, very lucrative. And so I want you guys to be aware of that it's not like it's easy, of course, to get that. But there are some really awesome, amazing opportunities in this industry if you can find yourself in the right hands with the right people, and of course, with the right music. But you guys should be aware of that. There's some cool stuff here. So no matter where you are in life, $7,500 is a lot of money, to be honest. I don't know. Elon Musk, does he care about $7,500? I don't know if that really matters that much to him at this point. I don't know where money is in a guy's, like in a brain like that. You're worth multiple billions of dollars. Does $7,500 even do anything anymore? I don't know. It definitely moves the needle for us, for sure. Absolutely, it moves the needle for us. But again, that's what's kind of beautiful about the human experience. We're all coming at from different points of view and different places, and we all get to make our own decisions based on what's in front of us, for sure. So. Yep. Alvaro says no more Sync Academy if Jesse gets a GTA placement. No, I'd probably put somebody in charge of Sync Academy. I wouldn't just ditch you guys, but I probably would be a little more absent there. I wouldn't be that present. By the way, we are doing a Sync 60 challenge right now. I didn't make a public announcement about that at all this time, but if you guys are in Sync Academy, please do participate in it. It's a really, really powerful experience. Yeah, we are doing that right now in Sync Academy. How I got my music in GTA 6, huge YouTube income. Yeah, you put out a YouTube video about it, have it behind the scenes for sure. Absolutely. $7,500 is a new kitchen for me, says Cayman Biz. Yeah, I absolutely could see that. Jack saying 7,000 means a whole year of only composing, not worrying about bills, rent, groceries, or at least part of this world. Yeah, and then 1 year of being able to focus 100% on your music can set you up for an even better situation in the future. Absolutely, you can do that. So that means a lot more to you than maybe it meant for this band, for sure. So that's kind of an interesting consideration as well. Yella says, "I don't mean those rich knobs." That's funny. Yella, I think I'm seeing you in 2 weeks, right? Aren't you coming in? Like, what date are we on? We're on the 10th? Yeah, man, I think I'm going to see you in a couple of weeks, man. That's cool. So I'm excited to see you. I think, Trevor, you're coming into town too, right? Hopefully, I don't know if Mike is back. I'd love to see all of you guys. Maybe we can get together for like a group lunch or a coffee or something like that. That'd be fun. $7,500 pays for a lot of copyright registrations. Absolutely, Aaron, for sure. So, Yeah, for Average John and Joe and Jane's and all that good stuff. Absolutely. You're flying in on the 20th. Okay, cool. Wow, man, 10 days. Felt like it was so far away and it just creeps up on us. So, anyways, I will hop off here today. I just wanted to leave you guys with this interesting. Yeah, we'll definitely do a catch up. Yeah, I'll kind of reach out to everybody. Maybe even today. We'll see if we can get something linked up together. I know your dates and when you're going to be there. You're going to be there a little bit early, so I'll drive down the hill or across town, I guess, and catch up with you guys and see if we can hang. So thank you guys so much for hanging out and for giving me your 2 cents on this, and would love to hear from those of you that watch this afterwards. If you got a comment, a concern, a question, a point of view on this, I'd love to hear it. I think it's a really interesting point of view, or topic rather, because one of the things that got me excited about sync licensing is this kind of like this unknown roundabout way to get a lot of public awareness very, very quickly without a record label, right? Up until video games, if you wanted to have access to the general public, and before social media viral potential, video games were kind of this really cool, new, interesting, weird way that if you had your song in a video game, especially in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, like you could break into massive new audiences that you didn't have to have a record label for. Of course, a lot of those bands did have record deals, but we're now living in the world where record labels are kind of optional, so it's still something that can be a really big way for us to really boost our notability and our the public awareness of who we are and our music and that kind of thing. And again, going back to this huge sort of topic and this concept that I've been sharing in the last 2 years of my channel, we have to think of ourselves less as the behind the scenes anonymous, oh, nobody knows our names, nobody knows anything about us. We have to become more like artists that are in the spotlight, that are kind of connecting with fans, with audiences, with the general public. The more that we can find those sort of opportunities, the more we get creative about building new sources and revenue and new, maybe potential careers off of these placements, the more powerful we're going to be in the long run. So Yella is a perfect example of this. He's becoming a huge, just popular rock star in our industry, winning, you were nominated for a Mark Award, flying all over the world and meeting people and that kind of thing. So Yella is a great person you guys should all be looking up to and getting inspired by, because he's done extremely well playing this industry in a way where he is not just sitting behind the scenes and just working on his music and keeping his head down. He is keeping his head down working, but you definitely are hearing about him and you're seeing him, and you will if you haven't already. And he's definitely just like a rising star in the industry. You can just feel it with all the effort and the energy that he's putting into making himself, just putting himself out there essentially. And it's not a lot of extra work, but it definitely is a consistent thing that you have to do to make sure that you are not being sort of forgotten in the background, which is basically where we spend most of our time in this industry. So I'm going to leave you guys today. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You guys have a fantastic day. And tomorrow I got an announcement about a really very powerful and maybe somebody you want to potentially connect with. It's going to be a new library CEO that we're going to be hosting this Thursday, actually, with our Sync Connect series. So tomorrow I'll share with you who it is, who the company is, some of their big placements, and why you maybe want to join us for this Thursday's Sync Connect call. It's going to be a really powerful one. You don't want to miss it. Talk to y'all real soon.